Welcome back to the 91 podcast, where we dive deep into faith, truth, and the questions shaping today's Christian conversation. Today we're welcoming back a familiar face, Mr. Kunle, for his third appearance on the show. If you've been watching our previous episodes, you'll remember that Minister Kunle has shared some unique and thought-provoking perspectives on the scripture. As always, this conversation is about exploration and not endorsement. Our goal is to listen, learn, and challenge ideas thoughtfully while keeping Christ at the center of everything. So let's welcome back Minister Kunle to the podcast. Welcome, Kunle. So, Minister Kunle,
Yes.
It's great to have you here again for the third time.
Yes, the third time.
The other times you were here, you shared some very interesting perspectives on scripture, which some of our viewers said illuminated, the word of God for them and helped answer questions that they had in their hearts that many people were not able to answer.
Yeah.
And sometimes those questions may even drive us away from the faith because we're so confused and we don't get answers. And then some of the other things he said got us almost banned on TikTok.
Yes.
So I just have to ask, do you still hold those same views? Let me just recap some of the things you said. You'd mentioned that Africans are the true Israelites of the Bible.
Yes.
You mentioned the earth was flat.
Yes.
You mentioned that most of these magnificent buildings we see today are remnants of the Millennial Reign.
Yes.
And you mentioned the rapture had already happened.
Taking place, yes.
Are these things you still believe, or has your view changed over time?
Yes. They're still the same views that we have, and the reason is because most of the sources we relied on to make those decisions or to have those views are basically still the same.
Okay.
They've not changed, and like we usually say, some of these things we say can be wrong, but what it would take to make them right is to take the sources where we got them from and check if those are accurate, of which most of them are scriptures, you see. So for them to be wrong, then those sources have to be wrong. And if we discover that those things are wrong, then we would, of course, definitely change the views. It's just them.
And is there anything that you've learned over time since the last time we saw you?
Yes, there's a few things. And for example, on the flat earth, I just remembered something which I didn't mention before. Because normally I would just refer people to go check all the channels and people that talk about the shape of the earth. So, but I remember that two things that I've literally seen by myself, and some people might have seen it also, that the sun would normally shine at an angle, and if you know geometrics, you can literally see the light of the sun shining at an angle when it's within the clouds. So if it is that far away, it wouldn't have that angle. And also, there are times when you would see the clouds behind the sun. And science will tell you that the sun is 93 million miles away, which should be outside of the Earth's atmosphere. Okay. And within that range of distance, you shouldn't have any clouds around the sun. So if you could see clouds behind the sun, then it tells you that the sun is not as far away as...
Are you sure these things you saw were not AI? That they're actually
that's why I
authentic
said,
videos?
No, it's not even a video. I mean, things I see with my own eyes.
Oh.
You see.
Okay.
So, but then if you record it and you send that online, then it just breaks the, credibility in the minds of people, you see, because people are like, oh, that could be AI, or that could be refraction, that could be, of which we understand some of these terms, but people just, it's almost a religion altogether. People would
I know after the last time we had that conversation, I went online also, and I saw even some pilots were saying that they don't think the earth is round. Which was crazy for me because I was like, wow, they're the ones seeing the earth. They're the ones in the sky all the time. And they don't think it's round.
Yeah,
so something must be wrong there.
Yeah, it is. So, and there are many trips. For example, there's this trip, I think, if I'm not wrong, from Argentina to New Zealand. And then it goes through a complete detour, like going up all the way to North America and stops over somewhere else before it goes to New Zealand. And it doesn't make sense. I mean, for some of those journeys, just two of the stops is long enough to make the straight line journey. So it doesn't even make sense that you're going there to get fuel, because why waste the fuel to go for a fuel?
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so, but then when you put that on a flat earth map, which is what the United Nations uses, by the way, that is on their logo, for example, you see that those four stops, or rather two stops, right? One from Argentina to that country or to that state, to that place, and then to New Zealand, it makes a straight line, which makes perfect sense. And that's the kind of thing that the pilots must have seen that makes them say, hey, this thing is flat, we just go straight. And towards the straight line journey, we're not
Going
up
back
by the place. Yeah.
Wow. And I'm meaning to ask you, why are you doing this?
Okay.
I mean, like, you spent 7 years of your life researching.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of it? Like,
Yeah.
why are you doing this?
Yeah, we mentioned that before. It's the real thing that started it was concerning that Africa is the way Africa is. Because I've seen Africans do wonderful things when they move out of Africa and sometimes within Africa. So the question just came to my mind, and like any well-meaning African would also want to ask that, why is Africa this way? Why are things backward? What is in our history? And what mainstream tells us is that the history starts from slave trade, that we were literally just existing before they came.
Yeah, we didn't have any proper healthcare. We didn't have any education. We didn't have any.
So
and just jumping from trees.
Exactly. And So, and then they end the history with civil rights movement in the United States. But then what I tell people is that to understand Africa's previous history from the slave trade, all they need to do is just take scriptures, that's all. Such that this thing that mainstream tells you is just history without the people and the land, aka the Bible, is the history of the people and land that they have told you have no history. You see, so there's history and land, rather there is people and land on this side, which is Africa, especially sub-Saharan Africa, because you would find the history of Egypt, you see, not on the side. Yeah. So there's a people and land that have got a history, right? They've got no history, rather, and then there's a history that the people and land we've got are not fitting. And discover it's just one and the same, two sides of the same coin.
So does it actually change anything,
Okay.
If what you're saying is true, that, people of the Bible are black, African, what does it change?
It changes everything, really.
How?
Yeah, because to understand the magnitude of the importance of it is to understand how important the land called Israel is, right? You see that it's that land in the Levant, right, in the Middle East that controls America, right? In fact, I'm sure probably you've seen this popular photo. It's like 4 grid of 4 that shows the prime minister of Israel, right? And they just tell you he's the last 4 presidents of America, and they alter the face of the president to look like probably with AI, So more or less, what they're trying to say is that he's the one, or that region of the world that has been controlling America, and then America is just doing all of the things that they do all around the world.
But don't you think, like many Christians, like me, we've been told that we're supposed to support Israel as Christians. So don't you think these things that you're sharing are changing the hearts of Christians and changing what we're supposed to be doing, which is to support Israel, no matter what they do?
Exactly. You should be supporting Israel, and Israel is yourself. So support yourself no matter what you do. So you see how it changes it.
Yeah.
So people keep praying. And if the Middle East is not real, or Israel, was just neutral, it would have been good enough for you to change your opinion. But those people, they literally hate your gods. Why? Because you are living, walking evidence that they are liars and imposters, you see. And an average Israelite that was born in Israel, I call them sincere imposters. Because you and I were born maybe Nigerian, Cameroonian, of which Cameroon doesn't mean anything, just means river of shrimps. Nigeria just means black area, you see, the Portuguese word for black. So we're just born like that. We say, I'm a Nigerian, but it doesn't mean anything. That's the northern kingdom of Israel right there, the real one. So I think it's quite important.
And lately I've been seeing so many things online which have just been hurting my heart, seeing things that are being done in Palestine and just not knowing how to feel about it as a Christian, but all the babies dying, the people being blown up, and that's why it keeps making me think, okay, am I supposed to just support Israel with everything that they're doing?
Exactly. So it makes it, and then because of the religion, they feel that moral obligation, right, to support them. Like, well, they're God's people.
Pray for them.
Yeah, pray for them. Maybe they're confused. They're not confused. They know what they're doing. So, and then, I was just checking recently, about 10 to 15 million people were unalived, were killed in the Congo. Not in the Middle East, in Congo. And that was around 1885 when it did the Scramble for Africa. Right? I don't know if you remember that Berlin conference. So between then and 1908 thereabout, which is less than 30 years thereabout, right? They unalived up to 10 to 15 million Congolese. Those are the real tribes of Judah, right? The real people in the land of God, you see. And we don't hear this, but we keep hearing 6 million Jews, 6 million Jews. And for those who are researching the 6 million Jews narrative, they discover that it's probably not true.
Yes, I've heard that too. Some people say that it couldn't be possible for them to have 6 million Jews that were killed and still have Jews left.
Yes. By the way, to help you understand how important this is, some of these phrases we're making are literally like red flags on TikTok already.
Yeah.
You see how important it is? That's how much they want to guard that, you see, because it's very key. And I tell people, it appears that the core conspiracy there is in the world today is the fact that the real Hebrews are Africans. That's the core. Every other conspiracy, not theories, actual conspiracies that you know in the world today are working around that singular conspiracy. Such that if you get that one conspiracy, then you understand that, like every other conspiracy and how it works. It's almost like what Jesus said, that when you understand the gospel of the kingdom, right, then you understand every other parable that he has spoken. It's just kind of like a way that if you understand that, wow, so this Middle East guy, right, and this whole thing, the real people are the sub-Saharan African people. They're the ones who are at the bottom of the barrel in almost throughout the world, right? And they are like the headquarters of cheap resources, right? You just heard about the president of Cameroon who has been elected for like the umpteenth time, and it's more like a rigged election. The man is so old, he hardly even knew an election took place, right? So there is turmoil in Cameroon. France is also boiling because Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso have kicked them out. That's like the northern border of the real land of Israel. They've kicked them out. And they've blocked the Nord Stream 1 that goes into Germany from Russia because they're trying to punish Russia, you see. So France and most of Europe are beginning to get low on energy, right? Because they got kicked out of France, out of the Sahel rather. And then Russia also, they're having issues with Russia. So, of course, apparently what Macron has done is to just go hire, America, right, to invade. And they said, well, Ibrahim Traore is a dictator, and they want to invade him and all of that, you see. So that when they invade, then they can get access back. But of course, thank God for information. That's why one of the most important weapons we've got now is just information.
Yeah.
They're trying to fight that because many of the people who've got these unaliving weapons with them, if they know what you and I know, they probably will drop that, you see. Or if anything at all, they turn it back and begin to unalive those who have sent them to battles that are not necessary. So it's very important what we are.
And just to add to what you said, I recently saw some information from the Talmud.
Okay.
Yeah, and stuff about what they think about Jesus and everything. And I was wondering, oh wow, if this is what they really think about Jesus, why are Christians supporting them?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you've seen some of those things from Talmud about.
It's funny. They think they have very terrible opinions about Jesus Christ, and it's just ignorance, just sheer ignorance for Christians to be supported. And you hear African pastors, unfortunately, praying for them. Oh, let's pray for Israel, not knowing they are the actual Israel, and their identity has been swapped. So it's such a terrible situation. The information is important.
So can you tell me a bit more about your research, if you've done any new research lately?
Oh, yes. So by discussing the new things, we can just start from the existing information. Then we move on to the new ones. So like I said, our research is based into about 4 areas so far. And we're moving on to the stage 5 and other things. But like we've discussed before, it talks about languages, right?
We talked about that.
People and cultures, talking about circumcision and things like that. Then lands and locations. Then we talked about timeline. How times have been changed.
That's when you showed me the Millennial Reign, the short reign.
Yes. So the 5th stage we might be moving into gradually, maybe not today, is areas regarding doctrine.
Okay.
Especially the Christian doctrine. It's even interesting how the term doctrine is almost synonymous to Christianity, as it were, you see. So, but then that's not what we're talking about today. So let me just show you a few updates we've got.
Okay.
Because the doctrine area of things is very, very crowded, very muddy right now. The waters have been muddy, so it's a very noisy place.
I think we'll still like to hear a bit about it if you've got time.
We have shown like 26 words thereabout that is same between the Yoruba, which is an African language, and Hebrew.
Yes, you showed us last time.
Bereshit, Elohim, Bara, Shamaim, Et, Eret. So the 6 words in the Hebrew for Genesis 1:1. And it means in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. And that Bereshit is same as Ni Bere in Yoruba. Yes. Elohim is plural for Eloha. Yoruba says Oluwa, right? Shamaim is Shama is a singular for heaven, and Yoruba says summer or our summer, right? Then there is Et, which is and, Yoruba says Ati, you see. And there's Eret, which is earth, and Yoruba says Ere, which is the wetland. Yeah. So we found like 27 words like that. And there's something also called vowelization of the Paleo-Hebrew, because Paleo-Hebrew is written more in consonants. So, for example, Adam, they write it as D and the M, right, from right to left. Okay. So that's how to write Adam. So you've got to put some vowels around it to make it pronounceable, so to speak. So by vowelization, we have a lot more than 27 words, which we did before in the Yoruba, for
Oh,
example.
that vowelization, is that how people have the name Yahweh and they put
Yes,
YHW?
exactly,
Yeah.
perfect. Yes, Yod-Hey, Wah-Hey, and yes,
Yeah.
perfect, exactly like that. So, but then one thing that helps you know, like we said before, that African languages are closer to the real Paleo-Hebrew, right, that Abraham spoke, and all those ancestors spoke, more than even the modern Hebrew, is because the language that holds the etymology of words tells you the language that is actually more rooted in the concept. You know what etymology is, yeah?
Can you explain that a bit,
Yes.
just in case?
Etymology is the root meaning of words,
Okay.
right? It tells you the root meaning. For example, cardiology, for example, is just an example. Cardiology, the etymology of that word, that's the breaking it down, is cardia and the logi, or the logos. Cardia is the Greek word for heart, and the logos just means the study of something.
Yeah.
So biology. So that's what etymology is, breaking words down. So, for example, we are able to find the etymology of many Hebrew words in the Yoruba, in African languages. For example, if you ask a modern Hebrew person, people from the It's Not Real land, that what's the meaning of Adam? You just say, well, that's the first man, right? But when we take the D and the M, which is what is written in the Paleo, and we vowelize it in the Yoruba language, you have something like Edamo, right? So you can see it on the screen here.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is how Paleo is usually written. See the green ones, right? Let me zoom it in a little bit.
Enoch.
Yeah, so Enoch is actually Kanok, okay? So what you see in Hebrew is KNK.
So you only pronounce the ones in green, is it?
Yes, that's the one that is written here, but you then get to vowelize it to make it pronounceable.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Adam, for example, right?
D and M, which you just mentioned. Yeah.
So when you vowelize it in Yoruba, you have Eda Amo, right? Which means creature of clay. You see?
Oh, and that is such a deep meaning.
Exactly.
Adam, creature of clay, because you're made from clay.
Exactly. Enoch means to teach, right? You have Kanok. That's how you read it in the Hebrew, right? Yeah. But in the Yoruba, if you vowelize it, you have Ikonye, which Enoch means to teach, you see. And you have Ikonyeko, which means the teaching of lessons, you see.
Wow.
So Abraham also, which almost brings us to, we're going to discuss the movie later. But then Abraham, they say he's exalted father or a princely father, right? And Abraham is father of many nations, you see, right? So Abraham is there. So the etymology within the Yoruba, you can have Abba, which means father or Baba, right? And Aremo. Aremo means a princely person. So Abba Aremo means, exalted father, right? A princely father. So Abraham also, Abai he Uriaimo. Well, it just breaks it down as this is the father. Right. This is the ehi means this, right? So the father of countless heads.
And then the Bible says, the father of many nations.
Exactly.
Wow. So this is the Yoruba meaning.
Yeah.
And that's almost like, that's the same as the Bible one.
Exactly.
Wow.
You see. So that's that about vowelization anyway. But I wanted to show you a quick one, just important, interesting fact, because if the Nigerian people, because to be fair and to kind of put responsibility on us as Africans, we're not doing perfectly fine when the Europeans came, right? We're not doing so well. Because if we had been listening to each other properly, we'll know that our languages are connected, you see. For example, look at this. We've put a compendium of just a compilation of English and Yoruba and Igbo words that are same. So just run through it real quick. So one is to know in English, in Yoruba, in Igbo rather, you say Yoruba rather, you say mo, right? In Igbo, you say mara.
Mara.
Yeah. Person is enio. We say onye in Igbo, you say enos in Hebrew. So that one goes straight all the way.
Sounding a bit bit similar. Mo, Mara,
Yeah. So inside you say ninu, and in Igbo you say nime. Yeah. So here you say ibi, you say eba. Yeah. When you say biane eba, come here. Yeah. So come out, you say bota. You say puta in Igbo.
It sounds the same, just different.
Exactly, intonations. Call says be. That's to call. You say bo.
That's almost the same.
Yeah, chineke na bogi. So stone, you say okuta, you say okute.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's so similar.
It's similar, it's just the last alphabet.
Yeah.
So you say in English, you say so. You say something like C. Now this C can be part of, like you say, it's a guinea. That means like, what are you saying? You understand? So that's the C right there. Satan, they say, well, issue is not really Satan, but that's the deity that you use within your Yoruba cosmology to try to. But you have Ekwensu within the Igbo language.
Yes.
You say what? You say kini. You say ogini. In Hausa, you say menini. Right?
Yeah.
In Hebrew, you say mana. It's actually closer to the Hausa right there. So place or house, you say ibudo, right? Or ibute. This ibute is literally when you say birth in Hebrew,
Oh.
Right? Ebute in Yoruba means like a dock, somewhere you stop by and stay, like a tent, like a booth.
Okay.
In fact, literally booth. It must have been where the English got their booth from, you see, because there's something called, which is around this time, interestingly, the Feast of Tabernacles, where they have the Sukkot, right? And because they're always in tents, so wherever they stop is where they have their booth, right? Where they have their ebute. Okay, so in Yoruba you say ebute or ibudo. So this booth is something as what you have as Beth when you say Bethlehem, which means the house of bread, right? Like that, Bethlehem, right? You know, like that. So Beth is the Hebrew word for house. So you say Obodo, like you say Obodo Oyinbo, right? That means the place of Oyinbo people, right?
Yes,
Something like that. So that's that. Time is Igba. Igbo says Ugbe. Yeah. Land Ile, you say Allah. Yes, when you say Pishala, that means, you know, to bow your head down, it means to bow. So Allah is land, Ile is land in Yoruba. Beans, Ewa, Aqua. Goat, Ewure, Ewu.
That's almost the same thing, just the R-E added to it,
yeah. So just like Isiewu, that means goat soup. So mount is Enu, Ono, ear, Eti, Nti, arm, Apa, Aka, like Aka Marama, you know.
Yes.
So war is Ogun, they have Oku. Me is Emi. In Igbo is Moa, which is exactly what the French calls it, by the way.
Moa. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so two a more.
I never, I never thought that before. This is the first time I realized that that's similar to the French moi.
And it's not a coincidence. So it's more like the Europeans got their languages from Africa. The English, which is very connected to the French, most English words and French are just about the same. The English, right, came from the Latin from the Greek from the Paleo-Hebrew.
Yeah.
And the Hebrew is more or less African language like we're seeing now. So I would not be surprised if this more was literally lifted from the Igbo,
I have a bit of confusion there because I'm wondering, okay, are you saying basically that Hebrew is our language?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
But if Hebrew is our language, how come, like he said the Bible is written in Hebrew, right?
Yes.
You've got the Hebrew Bible or the Jewish Bible, CJB. Yes. How come we're not the ones that produce that if that is our language?
No, it's a lot of years between then and now, right? And when the things that are in the Bible were supposed to just be for scribes, because writing and the knowledge of the law and history of mankind and how you built your temple, those kind of things are usually kept in a kind of place. It's not something you see everywhere. In fact, Jesus himself had to go to the temple and they handed over to him the book of Isaiah. And after reading it, he did what? He placed it down.
Back,
right? He didn't download it from Amazon or something.
Didn't have any internet.
So he had just the book of Isaiah, things like that. So when they attack communities, of course, they go for the kings, the princes, the scribes, right? Because the idea is to destroy the people's history, destroy. So when the scribes are attacked like that, the books are taken away, especially during the Assyrian captivity, when they took the northern kingdom, right, which would be present days, which is Samaria, okay? When they took that northern kingdom away, a lot of the books and the writings must have been taken away. A lot of the scribes must have been taken away. So Ethiopia seems to be the only country that were also not colonized, you see. So they still have those books.
They have their own Bible, the European Bible.
Still has the Enoch, the Joshua, the Jubilees. So things like that. And also is within present-day Sudan, I would say, that that languages were scattered, which is China, right? Which we showed you the last time. That's just about it. So some languages were also scattered. Some of the languages will be different from each other slightly. But when you listen to them as a whole together, then you discover that, no, this has got to be it. And also etymology, like I said, if there are two languages, you are not sure which one is older and they are similar, just check the concepts that they are describing, the words that they have in common, and check which one of them can describe to you the etymology of those words.
So the meaning of the word.
Yes.
Same way you did with the Abraham word.
Yes. So that must be the language which is a deeper rooted one compared to the modern Hebrew in this case.
Okay, so if you're saying that we originally spoke the proper Hebrew language, which the Bible is written in.
Yes.
Then how come we don't have any memory of it?
Yes. Oh, yes. That beautifully leads us to the next part that I was going to discuss.
Okay.
Because the question is, okay, we are the Hebrew people, but our parents should have told us this, which many people say their parents told them, right? Yeah. No, there are. Yes.
Who says that?
Yeah, there are people that they're like, because we do our TikTok live 10 o'clock every day, UK time. We've been doing that for many months now. Yeah, it's such a wonderful time and it's a lot of sacrifice, but God helps us with that. So there are testimonies after testimonies where people tell them that, grandma told them this, right? Like, don't let anybody just confuse you. We are the real Hebrews. Their parents tell them that.
Okay.
Yeah, we have that almost every other day. you see. But apart from that, what we've done, which is what brings about the movie, Abraimo movie that we just released, is that we checked, for example, the Yoruba cosmology. Cosmology is just like your pantheon of gods and heroes and myths, right? And history. We just got everything together. And there's somebody who has done it really, to be fair, beautifully. His name is Samuel Johnson. So the name of the book is The History of the Yorubas from the Earliest Times to the Beginning of the British Protectorate. Okay. So it just tells you the history of the Yoruba people. Of course, it links to Hausa a little bit. It talks about the Igbos a little bit like that, by Benin like that. So we checked Yoruba deities and heroes and myths, and we discovered that they are more or less just about the same. And that leads us to the claim of the video we posted recently that from all indication, Abraham has to be the same person as Oduduwa.
Oduduwa.
Telling you.
Sorry.
I know.
I thought, normally I've always thought Oduduwa is like a fallen angel.
Yeah, I know.
Like Ahmad Yoha and all the other.
I understand. So, by the way, there's a last word we forgot, which is spirit. We're talking about the words between Igbo and Yoruba.
Yes,
same.
yes.
So the last one is just spirit, which is Emi in Yoruba, and spirit says more. Like Okemo. Okay. All right, so then we have talked about this. So the peoples are, their and their culture, circumcision, we find it in scriptures and all of that, right? So, and then we've discussed about the land also, how the real Samaria starts from Guinea, right? Continues to Accra, Benin, like that, all through Nigeria, all the way down like that. So then we've discussed timeline also. So, we discovered that there is this story, right, in the Samuel Johnson's book. It's actually a known oral history. Now, this to answer that question, like, if we are the Hebrews, how come we don't?
Nobody remembers it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, there's this story about Oduduwa, right? That's written in Samuel Johnson's book, and we compared that with the story of Abraham in the book of Jasher. You see, so what the enemy of the African people was hoping is that there would be nobody who would be a Christian, right? They brought Christianity, so they're not scared about that. And at the same time would also know Yoruba history, because what they did with the bringing of Christianity is also demonize your history.
African history.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is why a Yoruba person or even an African person would see maybe a Nigerian church that maybe wears a kind of garment in their church and they have incense and stuff. They're like, that's demonic, don't go to that church. But you watch the Pope do exactly the same thing.
Yes.
He's got a garment. He's got
with a candle moving it around.
And you say, that's holy.
And they even keep the dead bodies and do all that, which seems more demonic.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but because it's a white man doing it, you're like, he's Holy Roman Catholic. Everybody's comfortable with that. You see? So they didn't know that they're going to find, like people like you and I, that will be Christians that would at the same time be very deep and versed in their history, right? And at the same time, this third part is the most difficult, have access to Enoch, Jasher, and Jubilees.
Wow.
They did not, because that was the 3 criteria that our ministry had to have to be able to bring out these things. Because if you're just a regular Christian, most times you wouldn't like your own culture because you've demonized it, right? In fact, I've even heard somebody say that Eledumare, which is like Osaloboa, for example, which is like Chineke, something like that. Someone said that's the name of an idol. I'm like, really? Eledumare means Olodumare. That's the person that has Odu. Odu means secret or something big or grand. Tomoare, that knows eternity. Right? Someone that holds secrets and knows eternity. That's the Most High God.
Yeah, that's a really big name for God.
Very deep stuff. So, and people have gone as far to say that's the name of an idol, and that's not true, you see. So we know Christianity, right? And we know Yoruba history and African history. At the same time, we have access to this
because of the internet and all the information out,
the internet,
which many people did not have back then.
Yeah. And even those that have access to the book of Jasher now, they'll be like, don't read those books. They would run you mad. But the same people who watch, it's supposed to be Halloween kind of stuff. Most people watch scary movies.
Yes, they'll watch horror movies, alien
Harry
movies.
Potters, Harry Potter stories and all that. So that's literally witchcraft. You see.
They'll listen to Beyonce.
Let's not even touch that one. So, like I said, and you're right, most of what is called entertainment today is just sexual immorality, violence and death, and then witchcraft.
Yeah.
That's it. And they just call it Hollywood. So, we discovered that, but then people can make their decisions. We just released the video about a week ago or so, and it's been very controversial. And some people are like, wow, exactly, I thought so, stuff like that.
This is the Abraimo movie, your movie.
Yeah. So it's abraimomovie.com. That's where we got it. So we can have a look at that. So, so to help visualization of this part we're about to discuss, they can just have a look at abraimomovie.com. So it's not in public yet, but they can get it there. Okay. So we advise people to see our our evidence as a whole, right? Not just pick one or two things, to see everything as a whole, then they can make their own decisions, right? So now we would want to take a look at an African history that is documented, although it's a documented oral history, and they want to check, in this case, the book of Joshua. Okay, that's where you find most of the things. And there are many books that have talked about the connections between the African people and the Hebrew people, right? One of them is this Dirk Lange, right? It's called, Dirk Lange is the writer. He's not even African.
Okay.
So the title is The Ancient Kingdoms of West Africa. I mean, he tries to connect the Hausa to the Hausa myths, right? I think we got it here. So try to connect it and try to say this, there's this Bayajida, right? Just like you have maybe Oduduwa, Oromiyo, stuff like that, Amadioha. So there's this Bayajida in the Hausa kind of cosmology, right, or mythology, and it tries to compare that to a kind of patriarch like Abraham. And there's Magajia, like a Sarah, and there is Bagwaria, which is like Hagar. So the guy is making those links, but according to him, none of them so far, right, have been bold enough to be like, no, it's like these are the real people. So what they have said is that it has Middle Eastern influence, you see. So that's as far as most people have gone. But we are telling you that it's not that they've got Middle Eastern influence. They are the real people. And all that has happened is that they were taken away and they came back to the same land that they've been all this while. So, and in fact, look at this. And I'll still show you more things, but I can quickly show you this one. So he says, once again, these things are just oral history, so there'll be a lot of mix-up, right? So he said, going one step further, we may even identify another reflection of the Abraham story, with the familiar inversion. So there's been a swap among the Yorubas of Ife, right? Here are two women said to have been the wives of Oduduwa, right? The rich Olokun, right? And had no children. He's saying that's the one that sounds like Sarah. And he said there is the poor or Sarah, right? Who is the blessed with many children. So they swapped it. And he's saying that this one that has no children should have been your Sarah, which is the Sarah person. You see. So according to him, and he's speaking of Oduduwa, right? And this is not even the main text we are going into. We'll still go to the main one. But he's saying that this Sarah is sounding like, well, maybe these people have been influenced by Middle East. So they are beginning to modify their own stuff to sound like, and they did that swap. But no, it is actually the person. So, but anyway, it's just to show you that there's one like that. But this is the one we are doing, right? We are comparing this book, right? This
the history of Yorubas.
Yeah, from the earliest times to the beginning of the British protectorate, and we're comparing that to the book of Joshua. Yeah. Okay. So one thing to just keep in mind is that this is documented oral history, right? And this is, as far as we know, these are documented events that were documented as they happen, so they're likely to be more precise, more accurate.
Just about the oral history thing, just because some people might look down on it saying it's documented oral history, but even the Bible is documented oral history.
Yeah, it is.
Documented oral stories that are taken and written down. Yeah, just in case some people are saying, oh, this is not.
Yeah, of which that's the same reason why we're here in the first place, where people just, push down their own history because it's oral and all that. And it's important. People don't keep saying the same things for centuries if they're not sure what it means,
if it's a lie.
So there you go. We've got that. All right. So So by the way, the main places for people to check is page 3 to 4 of this book and chapters 11 to 12 of Joshua.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's this person Lamrodu, right, which apparently is Nimrod. That's literally in page 6 here. Okay, of this book.
Can you just remind us again who Nimrod is again?
Nimrod. Well, we'll just show you the table of nations. Where is he? By the way, these things are, let me just use this updated one. So these things are in the movie. It's easy to see it, it's called Abraimo movie, but this is Nimrod here. Okay.
Nimrod,
so so he's the son of Cush. Cush is the son of Ham. Ham is the son of Noah.
Okay.
You see, yes. But this is Abraham. Abraham is the 20th from Adam rather.
Okay, right. Okay.
And we are saying this Abraham is very likely Oduduwa, and we'll show you the reasons.
Okay.
Yeah. So this Terah was one of the chief host, well, the the Lord of the host of Nimrod, right? So even though Nimrod is like 13th equivalent, he and Abraham were still contemporaries. They still saw each other. In fact, Nimrod threw Abraham into the fire, according to the book of Jasher. Just like, what's the name of this other king?
You're saying
Shadrach.
Abraham died by fire?
No, he did not die by fire.
Well, you just said he threw him in the fire.
Well, he escaped the fire.
And this
Just
is-
like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. That is
Yeah.
in the book of Jasher.
Okay, because I never heard the story before.
Yes, I know. That's why I'm telling you that for you to know these things, you have to have access to Yoruba history, the depths of it, and have access to the book of Jasher also.
And read it. Oh,
So
wow.
it helps me to begin to see of which Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego must have known the story in the book of Jasher. And that must have been what gave
Gave them
that
confidence.
faith.
Oh,
Exactly.
wow.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Wow,
So-
I've never, because I just thought, oh, where did they get all this?
Yeah,
all this
confidence from.
Confidence
Yeah.
from to go into fire.
And I tell people that if you check that scripture properly, what they told, what's the name of that king? The wicked king.
no.
Yeah, I think it is.
I don't want Nebuchadnezzar to come to my mind.
No, I
Yeah.
think it is. It's Nebuchadnezzar, actually. Right? I think what they told him, most people think they said, well, if you throw us into the fire,
Our
if you
God will
decide-
save
us.
and if He doesn't save us,
we will
yeah.
not. That's not what they said.
But that's what the Bible says.
That's not what
Do
the
you
Bible
want to
says.
change the
No,
word of the
I know.
Sorry. Okay, what
I
does it
know.
say? Okay, what?
If you read it well, what it says is that if you decide to throw us in the fire, we will not bow. But, and that's why Nebuchadnezzar was very angry. But if you choose not to throw us in the fire, we still will not bow. Do you see? So the guy was so angry, like, serious. I've not even offered you mercy. You're already telling me even if you offer me mercy, we will not bow.
And that's why He then said, increase the heat of the
Yeah,
fire.
and then those who threw them in the fire died from the heat and things like that. Very similar to what happened between Nimrod and Abraham. So scripture, history, prophecy tends to be very cyclical. You see.
So basically, what he's saying is that a similar story of the fiery furnace had already happened in the book of Joshua with Abraham,
Yes.
and that's what maybe gave confidence to
Shadrach,
Meshach,
and Abednego.
Wow.
Yeah. So, so the book of Joshua is very, very interesting. Very interesting. And one thing we do in our TikTok live, 10 o'clock every day, UK time, we read at least one chapter of Enoch, Joshua, and Jubilees. We have done all of that already, and we've started again from Enoch. We're in Jubilees currently. We're going to Joshua again.
Wow.
So this Nimrod, there is this Nimrod in Yoruba history, and it's called Lamurudu or Namurudu. You see. So what I'm going to do, yeah. So
Funny
rather
enough, that N, M, and D are still there.
yes, exactly. Aha, talking about the
There's
vowelization.
no to sing it. You get
Yes, the vowelization of Paleo-Hebrew.
Nimrod, yeah.
So rather than going through this history back and forth, what we'll just do is to condense it for us and pick out so that people can go read those two books.
Themselves, yeah.
When they're ready. So page 6 is where it mentions that Lamurudu and Namurudu as the same thing. So there is this person, he said that Oduduwa, he said, let me zoom it in. Yeah, so he said in the name Lamurudu or Namurudu, we can easily recognize the dialectic modification of the name Nimrod. It's basically the same thing. Yeah, so what we're doing, we'll just pick from this and to give us some speed as we go ahead. So there's this Lamurudu in this book, right, or in Yoruba history. We know of Nimrod in the book of Joshua, even in the Bible, Genesis. So he mentions Oduduwa here, but there seem not to be an equivalent of Oduduwa, of course, within the book of Joshua. But keep in mind, this is oral history on this left. So there's this character that is called Abraimo. We are saying this is Abraham, right? But that's not just the name. We didn't just see this and make that conclusion, right? Look at number 4. There's a person called Asara, who is the father of Abraimo, right? And the father of Abraham is Terah. This is Asara. You see? Let's keep going. Oduduwa is supposed to be the crown prince of Nimrod, which doesn't always mean a son, by the way. It just means he's part of his warlords or something like that, crown prince. And this Terah in scriptures, right, was the prince of the host of Nimrod. So it's still kind of shady. Is this Oduduwa? Is it Terah or is it Abraham? We can keep reading. Abraimo, right, there's this guy called Abraimo who acts down his father's idols. Now, Simon Johnson was bold enough to say that, is this Gideon? You remember Gideon destroyed his father? It's not a very popular story, but he destroyed his father's idols and they wanted to kill his child. And he said, well, if the gods are really alive, let the gods kill his child, right? You know, that's why they call him Baal Perazim, right? If I got that right. So that let the gods defend themselves, right? Let them break out on his son, right? Rather than the people unalive on killing his son, right? But that's Gideon. But that's as far as Samuel Johnson went. I'm telling you, if Samuel Johnson had access to the book of Jasher, it would have been point blank. He would have made the news like 1890s when he was writing it, almost 100 years ago. And we are the ones bringing this out now. But let's keep reading. It's not enough information yet, or enough proof yet. So this person, Abraimo, asked down his father's idols. The writer, Samuel Johnson, thinks that sounds like Gideon.
Yeah.
But Abram also asked down his father's idols in the book of Jasher, chapter 11 to 12. Exactly what he did. When Abraimo, in this Yoruba house story, right, finished axing down his father's idols, he left the biggest one. And he said he placed the axe in the hand of the biggest idol, actually in the neck of it. You see, maybe I should show you some of this text. It feels somehow.
And you said that happened in the.
Yes, in Yoruba history. Let me show you just Kings of. And the oral history is all over the place. It doesn't quite sit well, you see. But there are some key points there that are just, you see, look at. So when Abraimo was old enough, Abraimo, right? This Yoruba history, was old enough, he seized the opportunity of one of such absences. That means people were not around at home. And those who might have opposed him to destroy the gods of the whose presence had caused the sacred mosque to be desecrated. So this one mixes the story with the mosque, because some of these people saying this oral history at that time had begun to understand Islam. So now they were really beginning to pollute the story, adding mosque.
Okay, so
right?
they're seeing a sacred place as a mosque instead
something
of
like that. You see.
Yeah.
So the axe with which the idols have been hewn in pieces was left hanging on the neck of the chief idol, right? And he said that idol is shaped like a human, human shape. You see, so. And that is what he did in the book of Jasher. Maybe I should also open the book of Jasher to be fair. Jasher 11.
You know, so many times we Christians are afraid of reading these books. But then, like what I learned the other day is that the Bible doesn't tell you everything, but it tells you enough for you to live right and do what is right. And sometimes you might need to read everything else to get a fuller understanding or picture of some of these stories.
So this is Jasher 11. Let me just start from here. It's Jasher 11 we're reading, right? Good. So let's keep going to show you where Abraham did the same thing, or Abraham at this point. So Abraham came to his father's house and saw 12 gods standing there in the temple. And Abraham said, as the Lord liveth, this image shall not remain in my father's house. Right? And his father is Terah. Right? And Abraham went from them. His anger burned within him. And Abraham hastened and went from his father's outer court. Let's fast forward. He asked some questions to his father. It was on the third day that he did this. So he gave the idols food. They didn't eat it. Right? He said here he mocked them. He mocked those gods. All of that is in our movie, by the way, the Abraimo movie.
Wow.
Yeah. So behold, they did not say anything, right? And look at this.
What verse is that? 33.
Yes.
And when Abram saw all these things, his anger was kindled against his father. And he hastened and took a hatchet in his hand and came onto the chamber of the gods. And he broke all his father's gods.
Yes.
And when he was done breaking the images, he placed the hatchet in the hand of the great God.
Yes, that's it. He put it in the hand of the great God.
So the biggest idol there.
Yes. Look at what this other person did. Where is he? Right? Look at the axe with which the idols were hewn in pieces. It left hanging on the neck. You see what happens with oral history of the chief idol. You see. So let's just read this one a little bit so that we can flow. And let's see what happens next, right? Which was before him. And Terah, hearing the sound, right? Look at what Terah did. He entered the room and found the idols broken down and the hatchet in the hand of the largest idol. And Terah said his anger was kindled. He went to him. And Abraham said, okay, sit in. So, and Abraham answered Terah, his father. He said, what have you done to my gods, right? And Abraham answered Terah, his father. You see, not so, my lord, for I brought savory meat before them, right? Which, when I came near to them with the meat, that they might eat, they all stretched forth their hands and eat before the biggest God. Had the time to put his hand. He said, look at this. And the large one saw their works before him, and his anger was violently kindled. You know, that was the statue was talking. I was angry.
He was angry that they were eating all the food.
Yeah, and he took the hatchet that was in the house and came and broke all the smaller idols, right? And behold, the hatchet is still in the hand, as you can see. And Terah's anger was very kindled. He was very angry.
At his son Abraham.
Yes. So, but let's look at that. He said, do the girls have spirit to do stuff like that? Let's look at the Yoruba history. Inquiry being made, right? That means they now started to ask this Abraimo, right, in this case, was being made as it was soon discovered who the iconoclast was. Iconoclast means the person that destroyed the icons, the image. Yeah. And when accosted, he gave replies that were not unlike which Joash gave. That means it's similar to what Joash gave. So he's already beginning to see this thing is sounding like what Gideon did. You see what Joash gave to the Israelites, yes, who had accused his son Gideon having performed. Exactly.
Okay, so he's still thinking that it's
Gideon, of which we know is literally Abraham. And you remember that other book that says Oduduwa has a wife called Sarah. This is like Sarah, the wife of Abraham. But let's keep going. So said Abraham, ask the huge idol who did it. The same thing, you see. So then the men replied, can he speak? This one is saying is the men. The other one saying is his father that is asking him. You see, so that's that.
The stories are quite similar.
Very similar. So, but let's just keep picking rather than going back and forth between the books. So, so he placed the idol on the neck of the largest god. Abraham here placed it on the hand of the largest god. So Abraimo said it was the biggest idol that did it. The same thing. Abraham said it was the biggest idol. So Abraimo was to be burned to death for what he did. You see, Abraham also was to be burned to death.
In the book of Joshua.
In the book of Joshua. Abraimo escapes the death. Abraham also escapes that death. Because Abraham was literally walking in that fire. Just like we had the fourth man in the fire with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They had seen it before.
So no burn, no smoke. He just came out of the fire.
Yes, and also the wires that held him was just burned off. You're already entering part 2 of our movie.
I'm just shocked, sir.
Yeah, so exactly something that's supernatural. So, people can check out abraimomovie.com to have a look at that. So let's go. So then that's what we see. And there's this person called Okombi, right? Which is the son of, because now we've got Oduduwa here, we've got Abraham here, right? And then there's Okombi, which is son of Oduduwa. Most people don't know that. Son of Abraham is Isaac, but there's a grandson of Oduduwa that is called Oromio, very popular. And this one is very important. Yes, and Oromio, like that has to, if we are correct, is supposed to be Israel, and that's what we're telling you, that Oromio is the same person as Israel.
Sorry, just because my mind is going a bit pa now. Sorry, so just to put everything together, so everybody's understanding, because my mind is just blowing. So basically, you've just shown us the book of Joshua and compared it to the oral history of Yoruba, of the Yoruba people, and you've just explained that Abraham in the book of Joshua is the same as Oduduwa.
Yes.
Okay.
And in fact, we've done just like a table of nations here, where we've put beside Abraham, we've put Oduduwa there, right? And to see, this is the Osara I was speaking about, right?
And that's the Okambi that you said is his.
Yes, the son, right? So if that is so, then we are telling people that Jacob and Israel is Oromio, right? So, and that's the next one. And if you're a Yoruba person, if you're deep in the Yoruba culture, you'll be like, what is this man saying? Can you understand? Because people hold these things precious, like, why is this man mixing this thing up?
Why is he messing up?
We're telling them to just look at the evidence we've got. The Oromio one is mind-blowing. Let's get into it. Go on. So, okay, well, this is just, the website, you can always check and do all that. That's by the way. So let's go to, they can just...
order the movie.
Yeah, that's that. So, so we're saying that Okomi has to be Isaac, and just the way Isaac is kind of quiet, so to speak. We don't have much said about Isaac in scriptures, it's just, he just passed on the seed, more or less. Yeah. It's the same way that Okombi's story is also kind of quiet in the Yoruba history.
Maybe because there wasn't much said about
activities and all, And the same way most people think that Oromio or Oronyo is the son of Oduduwa. Most people, not most people, in the Bible story, especially in Joshua again, Abraham would often call Jacob his son, even though he's his grandson technically, in the book of Jubilees and Joshua. You see, that's by the way. Let's keep going. Now, page 8C, we're still comparing those two books, by the way. That's the history of Yoruba people as written down here.
And that's from the 1800s, right?
Yeah, 1890 is when that was done. So, and then the book of Joshua. So, Oromio is known to own the land. Let me quickly show page 8C of that Yoruba history again. So let's page down, just the bottom of the page. Okay, so these ones we can still show people so that they see it for themselves. And they could go buy this book if they want. So so the Yoruba history. On the death of the king, that's their grandfather, right? Let's just read this part. On the death of the king, their grandfather, which is Oduduwa, right? His property was unequally divided amongst his children as follows. The king of Benin, because like I told you, this carries Benin, it touched on the Igbos, touched on the houses, because the Yoruba history is very elaborate. So they inherited the king's money or their grandfather's money, right? And consisting of cowries, shells. Now, Orogun, right, which is another child of Ila and inherited the grandfather's wives. The king of Sabe, the cattle. The Olupo, the heads, the beads, sorry. And then Olowu inherited the garments, Alaketu, the crowns. Nothing was left for Oromia but the land. And let's try to read the equivalent in the book of Joshua. So Joshua chapter 47, it's, let's just read it. Joshua 47 verse 28. Let's have a look at it since we have it here. Joshua 47, 28. 47. It has more details. Something similar is in the book of Genesis, but it's not as elaborate. Okay. So I'll just read from here. So look at what happened in verse 28, Joshua 47. So, and the city of Hebron, let's see. Yeah, that's it. And the city of Hebron, Kiriath Arba, right? And the cave which is in it, the whole did Jacob buy from his brother Esau for value. They were supposed to have it, but he's trying to buy the land from his brother. You remember the same guy who did the birthright thing?
Yes.
So he's a kind of very diplomatic guy and very, very wise. And it actually has a lot of faith also, Israel, which we are saying is Oromia here. So for a possession and for an inheritance for his seed forever after him. And Jacob took the book of purchase and signature, the command and the statutes and the revealed book, right? So, and he placed them in an earthen vessel in order that it should remain for a long time. And he delivered them into the hands of his children. So, and Esau took all that his father Isaac has left for him after the death from his brother. And he took the properties, which means physical things, not real estate yet. Yeah. So from man and beast, camels, asses, oxes, lambs, silver, gold, stone, bdellium, and all the riches which had belonged to Isaac from Isaac, the son of Abraham, right? And there was nothing left which Esau did not take unto himself from all that Isaac left after his death. You see, the only thing that he took, that Israel took, was the land. And the context of the story is that Esau went to Ishmael, that's like his uncle, that's the brother of Isaac, like, what do you think I should do? This guy is offering me all the property. And he's saying he wants the land. And it's like, come on, take the property, of course, and leave. Because that land still had Canaanites at the time. Remember, God told Abraham to go back to repossess the land. Because it really belonged to him. Canaan took it from Shem. So Ishmael was like, come on, are you stupid? Just take the properties and leave. You already have a place in Mount Seir, which is a present-day Congo. We used to be called Zaire, by the way. That's just like Seir. So he said, just take the property and move, and leave him with his Canaanites there. They're probably going to destroy him anyways, you see. And that's in the book of Joshua. It's
just weird hearing, because, when you read the Bible, you wouldn't think that there was any relationship between Ishmael and them again.
Yeah,
you think he went forever.
Exactly.
They went into the desert. They just disappeared.
And that's the thing. Most times when you hear Abraham, you think Abraham lived, and once he was old, and Isaac was 30 years old, and Abraham died, and it's just Isaac.
Yeah.
And when Isaac was old, Jacob was 30. Jacob started living, Isaac died. No. Abraham literally had conversations with Noah. Because in mainstream Christian chronology, they will tell you that Noah, like Abraham, which is the 20th from Adam, missed Noah, which is the 10th from Adam, by 2 years. That means Noah died and 2 years after Abraham was born. But when you check in the book of Joshua, they actually overlapped. I mean, Nimrod had conversations, of course, encounters with Abraham. Abraham talked with. In fact, Jacob literally died in Abraham's literal bosom. In the book of Joshua is there. Because he was lying on his father's bosom, and his father prayed for him, literally just transferred the blessing to him, which is his grandson. And then after that, Abraham just died, But Jacob had slept off. He was about 15 years old then. He had slept off, and later he discovered his father was cold. His grandfather was cold. Went to call Rebecca, and then Rebecca called Jacob. Literally like that. So it's very detailed. That's why I tell people that say that the Bible was written by Europeans to confuse Africans. You can't have that level of detail. You see, if it's just some lazy story, You understand? So it's a lot of the book of Joshua is very, very, very interesting.
And Ishmael was still involved.
Yeah, Ishmael was
in their
there.
lives.
Yes, he was. In fact, let me tell you another story. It's very interesting, the book of Joshua. There was a time when Abraham, I will get back to our list.
Yeah.
Abraham went to visit Ishmael after a long time because they've not seen each other for a long time. And he met his wife. The name of the wife is, it means trouble, no, bitterness, which is Mara, something like that. Mara is the name of the wife, thereabout. And that means either bitterness or trouble or something like that. But when he met her at home, he was, by the way, very interesting. By the way, Sarah was still alive then. Of course, Sarah had orchestrated like the sending away of Hagar.
Yeah.
Right? And God kind of supported that for some reason. And Sarah told Abraham that when you go to visit Hagar, don't come down from the horse. Do you know why he told him that?
Just want them close to each other.
Exactly.
And this is what the book of Joshua says.
Exactly, I'm telling you. So it's like, don't come down from the horse. And Abraham's like, I swear to you, I won't.
They just come and go. And
so that you don't come down, she gives you water and you start old romance.
And you remember things.
So, I mean, we read these things on our live.
Tell me what happened next. I'm actually,
I
want to know.
So when he was on the horse, right, or camel probably, and told this wife of Ishmael that, is your husband around? He said, no, he's not around. And because she was beating, I mean, allow me to use this example. You know, you've been very nice to your own children and stuff like that, which is beautiful. But she was beating the children, which are our children, by the way, beating them and shouting at them and things like that. Abraham was like, why? What kind of wife is this? So, and he said, okay, and he's been on the horse for a long time. He didn't even pay attention, just continue washing whatever she was doing. Can you give me a cup of water? He said, no, I can't do that. I'm busy now. Something like that. I'm like, wow, really? Not knowing that that's her father-in-law.
After the long journey and everything.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So, because of course, Ishmael got married much later after Ishmael had left Abraham. So she didn't
They've not met each other before.
Look at what Abraham said. Typical African father. He said, so he didn't come down because of his oath, okay? So he said, when your husband comes, tell him that a man came from the land of Canaan, beyond the Ur of the Chaldees. And the man said, there is a nail on this tent, right? That because they are usually on tents, so Ishmael is called a tent. He said that this nail on the tent is not very strong, right? That you should remove this nail from this tent and put another nail there. He said, okay, I've heard you. So when Ishmael came, and he said, by the way, also tell him that when the man came also, you didn't have so much time to attend to him. You were busy.
You didn't give him anything.
He didn't give him anything. And, you know, the man was thirsty, but he's thirsty. But he came from a very long distance from Canaan, around Beersheba. So tell him that. So when Ishmael came, what he's just done is to literally give that wife her own divorce letter, and she's the one that served
even
it.
me, I can tell.
She couldn't get it.
The African in me can understand that, remove the tent, put another.
So when Ishmael came, Ishmael was like, okay, so who came? He said, well, one old man like that from the land of Canaan. Okay, what did the man say? The man said he came all the way from Canaan to come tell you that this tent, that the nail is not strong, that you should remove it. Did the man get down from his horse? No, he didn't get down. Did you give him any water to drink? No, I was busy now. This your stubborn children have been disturbing me. Of course, I'm paraphrasing, but you can literally read it. It's that detail. So he's like, okay. And what did he say? He said he just came to tell you that the tent is, and the lady was not smart enough to be like,
to understand that's about her.
How would someone come from literally like hours of journey to just come and tell him about a nail on his tent?
Yeah.
So of course she put her away, and then he married someone else. And then when Ishmael married someone else, he also came. Ishmael was not at home. So the father then dropped a message again that, this nail is very strong. Keep this nail. That one too just went to her husband. And one old man came. You give him I gave him food. I think he didn't get down the second time also, but I gave him food. He was refreshed. He said he was happy. Yeah. And he said there's a nail on it. He said you should keep it strong. I don't know what he's saying.
Oh, wow.
And then he got the message.
So just before you dive, just one more question, just because you brought this up.
Yeah.
So, people believe that, Ishmael, his children were the Arabs, and then they were enemies with the Israelites. Is that what the book of Joshua also?
Yes, it's the same thing. And like we said, the real Arab is not Saudi Arabia. The real Arab is just to the Sahel. Okay, so they somehow are more connected to the Muslim religion, the same way the Southern are more connected to the Roman Catholic religion. Even though both religions should not really exist, because what has become Abrahamic religions, right, shouldn't be a religion to Africans. Europeans can practice Abrahamic religions, but Abraham is the father of most Africans. So to them it is a flow of life and culture, right? Africans circumcise their male, most Africans. They don't have to be any religion, just do it. You see, so it's a flow of life, right? The way they raise their children, the way they do stuff, it's supposed to be a life flow, not a religion. You see. So, but truly, yes, there's, of course, even within the Israelites, there have been battles, civil wars and all that, but true, yes, they became the Arabians, right? The children of Ishmael, and then some of the children of Keturah, because Abraham had about 8 sons, Ishmael, Isaac, and 6 sons with Keturah, right? So many of those people, the sons of Keturah and then Ishmael, became the real Arabians, which is just to the north of the Sahel. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's quite interesting. So where is it? So let's get into the interesting part.
Yes.
So so he's the grandson of Oduduwa, and he's also the grandson of Abraham. It's Israel. We'll touch on this. You see, I see in the capital letters. We'll touch on it very soon.
R and Y.
Yes, R and Y. We'll touch on that soon. So this one owns the land, right? Oromio owned the land from the history of Yoruba people. Here also, he got the land.
Yeah.
Now, the meaning of Oromio, right, or Oronyo, Oronyo in Yoruba means a matter of argument. You see, and Oromio means my matter is settled. Okay, and they shorten Oromio to mean Oronyo, right? Or Oronyo. And you know what Israel means? One that struggles with God. You remember that? You get it?
Yeah.
Because you remember that encounter?
Yeah.
Where he fought with an angel.
With the angel, yeah.
Exactly. So it's as good as, it's easier to explain in Paleo, in Yoruba. Before I say, it's like, nígbà tí mo ní ọ̀ranyàn pẹ̀lú Olódùmarè ni ọ̀rọ̀ mi níyànjú. Okay? And that is just doing that word thing between ọ̀ranyàn and ọ̀rọ̀míyàn. Because most people have not thought about the meaning of ọ̀rọ̀míyàn. So it's like saying it is when I had a word of struggle or a kind of fight with the Most High that my matter became settled. You see? And that's exactly what I encountered did for him. But let's keep going.
Wow.
This is almost like 15, by the way. Well, we came all the way from Abraham. So one who struggles with God, right? Now, so there's some place called Oromio's staff. Very important. Now, this is really epic what we're about to do right now. Now, let's follow the story in the Bible, in scriptures as we know it. There was a time when Jacob was fleeing from Esau, his brother. He was not married at that time, right? Fleeing from his brother. And I'll just run through it. You'll find in Genesis 28, 10 to 15.
Yeah.
So behold, he had a dream, right? The ladder was there. Angels were ascending and descending. Keep that in mind. And then he said, I didn't know that the Lord was here and all of that. Okay. And what they told him in that encounter is that, and your seed will be as the dust.
Verse 14.
Yes. Not necessarily as the stars or the sand, but dust. You know, dust is like the children of sand, so to speak. Right? So he told him they shall be like the dust. To say that they will spread is exactly what he's saying, you see, of the earth. And thou shalt spread abroad to the west, east, north, and the south. Right? When you check the word for Ephah, you know, we told you that Ephraim is probably Ephah.
Yes,
you see? Yes. And that Ephah is pluralized. One of the meanings of Ephah there is dust.
Dust.
You see?
Wow.
So, but then that's the encounter he had. This is the staff of Oromio as it stands today. Okay? So it's a little bit difficult to say. You see here, Oromio's holy temple. I think that's what you've got there, right? And this, we're trying to tell people that this was erected by Israel, who is the same person as Oromio. And we're going to show you, as far as we know. But you can check our evidence and come to your conclusion. Okay. So he told them this, that... No, we literally have Obuga. That one is easy. They have a statue of Eri.
Yes, that's right.
But I told you, in the Yoruba people, it's still a little bit shady. They're like all over the place, you know. So that's it. So watch this now. The next encounter, now he's married, right? Because he went from Beersheba all the way to Haran to his, father-in-law to-be. You remember? And he got his wife and they gave him another wife. So all of that was about 20 years, okay? So about 20 years plus later, when he was coming back, look at what happened here. We'll still talk about this staff later, or this pillar later. And Jacob was left alone, and he wrestled with a man until the breaking of day. And the man told him, what is your name? Note this, your name. The first thing to note is the ascending and descending, right?
Yes.
Note the name also. Let's keep going. And you shall no more be called Jacob, but Israel, for a prince. As power with God, or as struggle with God, which is the same thing as Oronyo, which means to struggle or to have an argument with God and men. Note this prince also, name and prince. Let's keep going. So I pray thee, tell me your name, asking the angel. The angel didn't tell him his name. Now, this is found in that Yoruba history book. So what he's done is just to simplify like a schematic diagram of this difficult to explain or to see kind of staff, yes, yeah. Or pillar. So you just do the schematic diagram here is what he's done. Okay, so this okpa means staff, right? Okpa oronyo. Okay, oronyo staff was just there. Okay, so that we'll just interpret this very shortly. That's where we're going. So this is the third encounter. Jacob with his family going to Shechem, or from Shechem going to Bethel. So after this encounter, his brother had peace with him and all of that, because he ran from his brother to Laban. Later he ran from Laban. So when he's coming back to his homeland, his brother was about to attack him. But some things happened there. There was peace eventually. So now he's more settled. But somehow he's moving from Shechem to Bethel. Now let's go. So, and God said to him, like a confirmation of what the angel said just some chapters before. Yeah. And thy name is Jacob at the moment. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name.
And he called his name Israel.
Yes, and he called his name Israel. And God said unto him, you will be fruitful, multiply, kings shall come out of your loins. Keep that noted also. By the way, you know how many kings you keep having in Yoruba land? You see, a lot of kings. I think maybe more than the Igbo lands. They like kings. I mean, there's a lot of kings there. Let's keep going. And the land which I give to Abraham, I'll give to your seed, and I'll give them that land. And God went up from that place, and Jacob set up a pillar. You see. And in that place where God talked with him, even a pillar of stone.
And the one in the one at the what's this place called again?
It's also of stone, just like granite. You see, it's also of stone. That's not all, by the way. Let's keep going. So even a pillar of stone. Now let's watch this. Now let me show you something. There's something that Samuel Johnson saw, and some people try to criticize him for that. Why is he trying to make Yoruba history sound like Hebrew? You understand? He didn't like that. He was able to see this. Watch this now. And let me just go to page 144, which is very prophetic, by the way. But it's just page 145, one chapter.
All this while, I thought it was just like a pile of stones or something that he set up. I didn't know the pillar.
Yeah.
It's actually a proper pillar.
To be fair, there was a place where he set up just pile of stones.
For like 12 stones for the... Oh, no.
You remember?
Okay.
So that's Peniel. But the one he set up at Bethel is actually a pillar.
A pillar. Wow.
Let's keep going. Page 146 in this book. So this man was able to figure out, let me just say what he said. He saw that this is resh. Now, to show you what a resh is, a resh is like an R. Let me try to show that to you. You see this resh? You see R. Of course, that's where the English got their R from anyway. But...
And this is from what's the name of those alphabets again?
That's the Hebrew alphabet, the Paleo-Hebrew. Okay, yeah. And that's the resh. Let me show you the actual thing. You see the resh there. You see R. You see just about
just
there.
Here on the side.
Yeah, you can zoom in more. And then he was able to see this again, the yod. But the yod is put more like in a graphical way, because the yod would actually face the same side the resh is facing, but it's put them to face each other. And let me show you the yod, which is the same as yod hey war hey, by the way.
Yeah, name for God, Yod-Heh-Vav-Hin, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. So this is the yod. It's actually facing the left, but apparently Oromio or Israel put it so that it's facing the right, and you'll soon find out why very soon. Let's keep going. So that's what is done. This is the resh and the yod. Now let me take you to that vowelization. You see the resh,
the R,
and the yod,
the Y,
R and the Y. So reading from right to left and putting vowels, that gives you Oronyo. That's it. That's his name. You see, you didn't get it, did you?
No, I'm just a bit.
So there's an R here, and there's a Y here.
Yes.
Okay, and of course we read from left to right. So we've put the R there. I've put the Y, and this black is to vowelize it.
Yes.
That gives you Oronyo. You see, but one thing that Samuel Johnson did not see, right, is that there is a sheen here. A sheen is another alphabet. That's why I'm telling you.
This one round, isn't it?
This one like a sign, like a fork. These three parts without the tail. You see, that's what I'm telling you. This is more like a graphic design. What Orion did here, what Israel did here. So there's a sheen here, and let me show you what a sheen is.
What does that mean?
Sheen is an alphabet. That is the sheen there. This
one here.
Yes, which is pronounced sh, right? That's it there. You see, so let's bring in the sheen into the R and the Y. Yes, Good. So that's it. So it's cancelled. I've put it cancelled here like as though it's not seen yet, but now we've seen it. So that gives you the Y and the SH and the R is still there. So when you vowelize it, one way it can tell you is that Eyi, She, Are. We have not gotten to the Hebrew yet. Just relax.
Sorry,
I know. So this is the Y, the SH, and the R. But this time, that's why I told you it's a graphic thing. We're now reading from left to right. Good. So we've got a Y here. We've got an S that everything is sitting inside of.
Yeah.
I've got an R. Okay. That gives you Eyi Share. Do you know what Eyi Share means in Yoruba?
No. What does
This is a prince.
Oh, and in the Genesis, verse there, it said, I'll make you a prince.
Exactly. That's why I told you to have that in mind.
Yeah.
The same Are, when you say Abraimo, that's exalted father, like a princely father. Let's keep going. When you want to make this Eyi Share into a nation, watch this. Is to let Africans know who they are. Right. Let me put that here. Control V. Show them. If you want to make it into a nation, this is what it becomes. Because Eyi Share is talking about a person. And you discover that God sent away a word to Jacob and enlightened Israel. So he keeps dancing between the person and the nation. The person and the nation. Look at it here. If you want to turn this guy into a nation, this is what you say in the Yoruba language. We'll soon go to the Hebrew version. Okay? Eyi Share, this is a prince. But when you do this copy, paste, well, let's see if it's still obeying that rule. Yes, it is. Look at this. Ilu. Eyi Share Ilu. Do you know what that means? This is the prince of nations. In other words, the nation that is supposed to be on top of all the nations. Eyi Share Ilu.
So Ilu means nation.
Yes, nation. So, and when you move that into the paleo, guess what you have there? Yasharelu. That's Israel.
Israel.
The same thing. So it's got to be decoded. That's why we are probably going to be working with the kings in this land, because that's just a pillar. Now there's something called Idi, and these are the kind of things that America will destroy if they have a chance, because they are pushing this narrative that Christians are being alive in the north, there's genocide. Meanwhile, they say America didn't see genocide in GAZA. So
you don't agree there's genocide happening in the north of Nigeria?
No, there is. They've got to. The thing is, hypocrisy is one of the biggest problems in the world right now. Is either there is no genocide in GAZA and there's no genocide in North Nigeria, or there's genocide in both places. Why did you go to GAZA and say, it's not really genocide, it's until you have almost finished the place, maybe there's a genocide, right? And then we have 200, which is precious souls, right? Unalive in Northern Nigeria. These are people from Benue. These are the Tiv people, is what they call them, right? And you said, Christians are being alive, 200. One person is precious. But compared to the thousands in GAZA, right? And you said, there's genocide, we need to come in. If they come in, they were very close. In fact, they literally came in during the Biafra War. And they are soldiers that have confessed that they took planes. These are white men. Planes from Abuja, present-day Abuja, right? The northern part. And they flew to southern Nigeria, where the Igbo land is, and they dropped bombs. You understand? On very precious, and this is not even Nigerians doing this. And they dropped bombs and they were destroying landmarks, you see, in Igbo land.
Why?
White people, because they're destroying histories like this. And that's why I'm telling people.
Up all the...
And that's why I'm telling people that before you let the US, who is sponsoring USAID, sponsoring Boko Haram, and the same person is unaliving Iranians that are Muslims, and now come here and say they want to fight Muslims. Hey, these guys... America call themselves a Christian nation. They're only Christian to the extent to which their Christianity will help their selfish interest, you see. You don't say, I'm a Christian, and go to the visa and they give you American visa. In fact, they are revoking Nigeria.
I want to see your face.
I'm telling you. So it's such a hypocrisy that to say that we're a Christian nation, they're just saying whatever mumbo-jumbo you can jump on and start liking them is what they're doing. If you allow them in northern Nigeria to come support Christian genocide.
Come and save the Christians.
These are the kind of places they will go after. And they will tell you, well, something just happened, boom.
No more pillar. Nothing there.
No more evidence, you see. So...
sorry, just before you jump back in, sorry, because you started mentioning, Christianity and Islam and everything. According to the book of Joshua, I don't know if the information is there, but, many people say that Ishmael is the father of Islam.
Yeah, you mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you still, do you agree,
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah, it's still
Same
true.
thing.
It's true.
Okay.
So, like I said, Abrahamic religion was not supposed to be religions, right? It's supposed to be just the patriarch Abraham, which we are seeing now is Oduduwa, more or less.
Okay, well, my question there is that, because they believe Ismail is the father of Islam, and then
Isaac.
Isaac is the father of Christianity in a way. They believe that they will always be fighting.
Oh yeah, there was, and I mean, and to be fair, I just don't want to sound because there are people from the Fulanese that are. I think Fulani is more of even Ham altogether, right? They are even Hamite, and one way to easily tell who is Shemite and who is of which. It's such another hypocrisy when these guys who are Ashkenaz, they say you are anti-Shemitic when they are even from Japheth, if they are even Japheth at all. They're not even Nephilim altogether. But anyways, one way to easily tell somebody who is not Israel is just circumcision.
Okay.
Very easy way. And you still find ours are circumcised, but I do not think the Fulani is circumcised.
Okay.
They tell you they are not even Aramite, because even the so-called Muslim, Ishmael, whatnot, they will still circumcise
still
maybe at age
circumcised.
14. Because that's the age that Ishmael got circumcised. So till now, they will still circumcise at age 14, which is very painful for the child who is already conscious.
I think maybe I should have just blatantly asked you just without trying to
Okay,
sugar my words. People say
Fulani.
there are enemies,
Oh,
that
yeah.
the Muslim are the Christian enemies.
Oh, yeah.
So
And
is
it's more of an ethnic thing than a religious thing. But
Okay.
America keeps trying to push it as a religious
thing, yeah.
Because that way they have a foothold to come in. If you tell them that, no, I've even heard an American call the Biafra war a religious war. That, oh, those dear Christians.
How is there a religious
I'm
war? It
telling
wasn't
you,
a religious war.
Unfortunately, it was this gentleman that was assassinated as we know it that said that. You see.
Maybe
But
he
he's
didn't know.
misinformed, yeah. But it's the ethnic political thing. It's not a religious thing at all.
Yeah, it wasn't.
But the moment you make it into a Christian thing, the America can come in as the Christian nation to try to defend the people, and they're looking for oil, they're looking for uranium, looking for californium in the north of Nigeria. That's what they're looking for. So, and another thing is that many of these places where you see, 200 Christians unalived, check that place in maybe 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. You start finding landing strips. You start finding that they start working on the mineral resources, and people have been displaced. You see, so I don't know how people have it in their mind that the same USAID that sponsored Boko Haram will now come to save you from Boko Haram. You see, and they say, no, that was Obama, that was this. It's the same people. You see. So anyway, that's by the way. So if we could get access to some of these things, there's something called ED. We don't want to, because it's not everything you see in public. ED is something that would be in the staff. Now, in this case, a more literal staff as against the pillar of some of the Yoruba kings, one of them actually. And what is there is more likely to be a scroll that is there. And that thing should be read, not just carried about, you see. So, but then, of course, like I said, I believe that God has sent our ministry to talk to people in public places like we are now, to speak to pastors in pulpits, because they hear these things and modify some of the things they learn. And we're to speak to princes in palaces, you see. So some of those things should be read. And when we have access to those things, we can decode it like that and tell them this is what this thing is saying, you see. But then we'll see how that goes.
So that scroll in the staff, is this something that's been there for many years, or is it just a new?
It's been there for many years. So they've put it there, and it's written in that Samuel Johnson's book.
So those staffs are old then, very old.
Yeah, some of them are old.
Oh.
Perhaps maybe not the ceremonial one that they bring out every other, because you can't bring that to, maybe the king is traveling to London, he will take it along. Of course, maybe not that one. The actual original one will probably be perhaps in this same temple that you saw the white building there, you see. So, and these things are paleo. There's also a paleo writing in Obogad, if you remember, if you can check that later, because it's written on something like a stone also, right? And there's some paleo written on the floor there, right?
Okay.
You see.
What does it say?
I've not read that.
Not read that one yet, sorry.
So there's some paleo written there. So, so these things are all over the place, and it doesn't end there. Let's go back to our table. So basically that Aronyo, reading from left to right to left, is the same thing as Israel.
Wow.
By the way, that is the same place where he got encounter where what was changed? His name.
His name was,
exactly.
yeah.
So to remember that name, he just inscribed the name there.
Oh, wow.
My name is Oronyo. Moni Oronyo. I had a matter of struggle and fight with the Most High, right? And Orominyo, as my matter became settled. And reading that from left to right is Eyi Sheare. I'm a prince. Eyi Sheare Ilu. This is the prince of nations, the top nation. And that is Yasharelu. That's Israel. Straight away right there. So so it's up to people to check and determine. I mean, we can go on and on. I don't want to, but let's touch one more. let's touch one more because
sorry,
you can.
Sorry, I'm just feeling it just adds so much beauty to the story, because you can imagine in your mind if something so epic had happened to you at that moment, you would inscribe it somewhere.
Exactly. And it was his name that was changed at that time. And in fact, there's a lot of code in that artwork that Abraimo did, or Israel did, that you see that dotted line going, is about 61 of them. You see? And the left side and right side. So there's a lot to say, but so you see, there are many things we see that we don't even say in public, partly because they're kind of sacred and more or less esoteric, okay? But again, when we say those things to people, we just sound like we're trying to make things up. You understand? So we just keep that for the sacredness of it. You see, but that line going from the top to bottom is as good as the angel ascending and descending. You see,
the up
you
and
remember
down.
that
Can
line?
you just show us again? Or
Yeah. So we have it just right there. Let's put it up. So because he puts a line just on top of it so that people can see the line there.
I think I saw it here, up here.
Yeah, you see that
this
line?
one?
Yeah.
Okay, so
You see,
up,
it's a straight line.
descend.
Because the sheen would normally end here. So this tail is more like that encounter he
Yeah, because
had.
I was wondering why is it so long?
So long, yeah.
Like a fork.
So just like that. So it takes, it's literally God's Spirit showing us these things. So, and like I like to say, if you're a Christian that likes to go to the Middle East for pilgrimage, you are probably better off going to Ile-Ife to do your... But most Christians wouldn't want to go to that. What if I go there and I start? And many of them will go to the Wailing Wall and start kissing the wall. If they see you kissing or Romeo stuff, and they will demonize.
You just brought something to my mind. It's the same way we as Nigerians, we talk about our village people. You know, we see the village as evil. Village people, witchcraft, juju. So none of us want to go to our village because we see our village as an evil place. So we'd rather go somewhere else.
Outside, So and some people may say, are you saying we should go to Romeo's temple? And not necessarily. But, and that's why I keep talking about hypocrisy. That if you are that zealous about seeing the land of everything and you spend so much money to go into the Middle East, then the same you should be able to go to this place to see these things. And they should charge you some money, by the way, to generate income. But if the thing is, if you're not going to worship or rather visit anywhere, then don't visit both. But if you're so zealous, you're going to the Kaaba. The same thing with Muslims that go to Mecca, Medina. You are better off visiting here than visiting Medina.
Go to your home.
Go to your home. All right. So this thing goes ahead if you follow on with the story. Because, like we said in this table of nations, we have shown you, let's just show here. If you continue on the table of nations, you see Abraham, Oduduwa, just there. And there's literally an Osara there, wife of Oduduwa, which is Sarah, wife of Abraham. There's Okombi Isaac, there's Israel or Romeo. If you go down, that's where we have Gad, by the way, and Eri there, you see.
That you mentioned that
some
Gad
Igbo
is in
people,
Igbo.
But then there is also a person called Ajaka or Ajua, and that is Judah. There is also Shango. Shango has to be Simeon.
I thought Shango was... when I hear Shango, I think it's an evil... Sorry, no offense.
No, that's fine. So the thing with oral history is that as the stories advance, people tend to take human beings and deify them. Because this same Oduduwa, for example, there is a version of the oral history that tells you, well, Oduduwa follows a chain from heaven and he brought a clay of sand in his pocket and then he took a cockerel with him and then the black cat, and when he came on the earth there was water, which is close to the creation story a little bit, right? But then he threw the sand on the ground and on top of the water, and then he put the cockerel there and the cockerel started walking on the sand.
Yeah, I've heard that story.
And that became the continent. Okay. But that's definitely a myth, isn't it? Right?
Sounds like myth.
Yeah, it sounds like one. So that's the same way that the story of Simeon, apparently, well, just the way they deified Oduduwa, right? Is apparently the way the story of Simeon is being deified to that of Shango.
So you're saying Oduduwa was never a god?
I believe it was, from the story we've seen, just compare, it was more of Abraham, right? But they would deify these stories. They will modify them. They will embellish them to make it more majestic. but there will usually be a human version of a oral history of a people, and there will be the deified version.
Yeah.
So
just the same way in the Bible they wanted to deify Paul when they saw him doing.
And they called him Jupiter.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah,
that's
so
the same.
straight away.
So I'm just interested in this Judah. You said Judah is Adjuan
and Ajaka. Yes, the same person. And let me just show that to you so that we can just start to wrap up. Just take all of it.
Sorry, it was quite interesting.
So Shango is apparently the Simeon, and I'll show you the evidences again.
Yes,
let's have a look. So let's look at this. So now Adjuan is alias Oba Ajaka, right? One of the kings. You also find that still in the book. What we're doing is this book to the left, right? And this book of Joshua to the right. So those two are just, by the way, if we bring other books, there's a lot more evidence, but we're putting out just about the most convincing. So he's called Adjuan and he's called Ajaka. So he was the regent, the first regent that Oromeo put forward, right? That let this Adjuan or this Ajaka be the one that will reign.
Okay.
And exactly what he said, the scepter shall be unto Judah. Okay. But then you see the J is also coming up. You see that? Judah, Adjuan. You see, but that's not even strong enough. Let's keep going. I know that my son, thou art a mighty man before, reign over them. So he's just telling him to be in charge. And look at this. Let's say, okay, so that's in page 148. People can check that, page 148 of that book. Okay. And that's basically, you don't see so much. But from that Adjuan, and by the way, there's this movie called, this is a Nigerian Christian movie by this young man. He wrote the movie, and I think the title is Ayaba. He was trying to write the story of Esther and Vashti into like a Yoruba kind of feel, right? And when he did that, the names that he called the Jewish people was Adjuan, people of Adjuan. Now, he might have done that prophetically. Like I said, we are trying to link things to people's minds. People know this somewhere in their spirit, right?
Yeah.
And we're trying to show them from their minds. We're linking their hearts to their heads. Just like one man went in the middle of a bush and built literally a city there, a camp there. One of these patriarchs we have in Nigeria. One of them literally went somewhere and he said God told him build on this land. He called the land Canaan land.
Yeah.
Perfectly accurate. Is how this young man also wrote a movie, and it's connected to this big Nigerian movie people. And he just wrote the story, and it said in the end of the story, in the end of the movie, that, well, it's not like this thing is that way. We're just trying to give it a Yoruba vibe. Not knowing that the Adjuan that he called the Jewish people is actually the name of Adjuan, one of the kings, and whose name is Judah, as far as we can see.
Doesn't the Bible say that his word is written on our hearts? So it's in us, so we know.
Yeah.
Something in us knows. Because even as you're talking to me,
bear witness, kind of.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, oh, wow. I don't want to keep shouting wow in the mic. But
I know. So that's that about Adjuan and Judah. So, but there is also where this is just what happened with the ministry.
And sorry, just what you read was straight from the Bible. So it's not from the book of...
Yeah, this one is not
Bible
even
saying that,
yet.
the scepter shall not depart from the house. And then,
and Joshua even gives more details, by the way.
Wow.
So there's one last one. Let's just do this one. And Shango, yeah. So Shango is the son of Oromia, and everybody knows Shango is like Amadioha.
Then they use that because it's Shango.
I know, yes, yeah. Shango, you understand? So it's just a deified thing. So, but we are saying that this Shango is likely to be Simeon. And look at this. Shango, son of Oromia, is brother of Ajaka. We're still brothers, by the way. And a king of Yoruba, he was very wild, right? Of a fiery temper. Do you remember? The anger of Simeon.
Simeon's anger.
Simeon and Levi. Remember when he went to destroy Shechem?
Yeah.
When Shechem is the name of the guy, the prince there, he raped their sister. I think Dinah is the name of the sister.
Yeah, so they went back.
They went to destroy them. And that's exactly what confirms for us, by the way. Look at this. Look at on the third day. Now I want to read something to you. Let's read this one because we've been
straight from the book. Yeah, from page 150.
Page 150, correct. So let's have a look at that. Perhaps I should paraphrase it before I read. Let's see, 150. So I think it's easier to paraphrase, but look at this. The punishment meted was 122 razor cuts. But let me paraphrase. People can go read it because it's fairly long. Now, this is how the story goes. I'll tell the Yoruba part first, then I'll tell the scriptural part.
Okay.
So Shango apparently wanted to know who his mother was, okay? Because according to the story, his mother died when he was very young, which is a little close to what happened to Benjamin, because Benjamin was born when Rachel died when it was giving birth to Benjamin, remember? And she died and they had Benjamin. He even called his name Ben Oni, like son of my trouble. Okay. So, but anyways, Shango wanted to know who his mother was. So he sent two of his servants to the Nupe kingdom, just to the north, which is incidentally where we have found out that Haran really is. It's just to the northern side of Nigeria, like that. That's where he said his mother came from. Okay, and his mother apparently, matching with the Bible story, the mother of Simeon and all of those people was the daughter of Laban. You remember Abraimo or Israel went to marry the daughter of Laban. That's why he lived for them. So the name that he gave this person also is close to Laban, but we don't want to go into that. But long story short, he told his two servants to go and meet the man. He didn't want to ask the man directly for some reason. So the two servants to go to his uncle, okay, that he wants to offer a sacrifice to his mother's grave. And the two servants should listen to what the man says as the first thing they say. Because the first thing they say will be his mother's name, because they want to invoke the person worshiping the dead, whatever, oral story. So, and one of the servants was drunk, one of the servants was still sober, okay. So, and when the man called the name, one remembered, one could not remember. So he punished the servant that could not remember when he came back by giving him incisions, about 122 thereabout. That's what he's saying here, 122 razor cuts. So that was his punishment, painful. So, but after he did that to punish the guy, then the story goes further, still in the oral Shango story, that people started, the ladies, maybe his wife, started liking him more. I like this cut, actually, for some reason.
Tattoo.
Tattoo. For some weird reason, they started liking the cuts, okay? And like, okay, that's nice. To the point that Shango's wife started asking Shango that, don't you think you should consider this tattoo? It's fine. So, of course, you're like, before my wife started liking this. So then he did just about 3. He said after 3, he said, it's enough. So he did 3 here and 3 there. Yeah. But that follows the trend. I'm going somewhere. And so a time came when Shango wanted to expand his kingdom. And he sent, and he wanted, and this kingdom, these people he wanted to expand his kingdom towards are not too far distant relatives. I mean, most of the Bible people are even families anyways. Even Ham was a brother of Shem. So he sent this guy again, okay, with some other people to go to greet the people and to talk with them. And then they kind of still liked it there, even there. This guy's getting popular. You want to get more popular than your master. So Shango then thought that what can he do? Because he's been looking for a way to conquer those people. He sent them to these second people. So he said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell these people of this land that if you want to be closer to us, because they're supposed to kind of merge together and things like that to be. So you say you want to be closer to us, that is how we mark our men in this country.
With the razor.
So, and it's 120 cuts. So if you don't mind, we can send people to go and mark you. And they said, well, of course, this guy is looking nice. And then they went and marked them 122 cuts. Okay, so, and so the people were very sore. Of course, all over the body cut and all that. It's supposed to be a punishment. And then Shango went and fought them.
Oh, because they were already in pain.
They were sore, they were in pain. And he unalived them, he conquered the place, right? And we then compared that, right? Let's go here, boom, boom. And we compared that. So let's just read. But on the third day, right? I'll just read the part that we need from that Yoruba story first. When Oloyokoro and the chief were very sore, this is literally from the Yoruba story, page 150. Yeah, Shango appeared with his forces against them. No resistance could be offered, and the city fell easily into his hands. Shamefully and brutally, he put to death to the prince and the chiefs and the dupes of his stratagem. In other words, the strategy that he carried out. Those are the people that were victims. Do you know what Simeon did?
What?
When his sister was raped, and that Shechem wanted to marry his sister, he told them that, well, if you want to marry, because they were very angry, but they kept their anger.
I remember the story. Exactly. Yeah, they should get circumcised.
Exactly.
So they all cut all the men.
And while they were still sore, Simeon went and destroyed them. Exactly the same thing. Do you see? Well, very slightly different, but it's basically the same. And notice, I mean, who sees somebody who is lacerated all through his body and that's attractive? No, except...
No. And why would the wife find that attractive? No, definitely something.
Except maybe what thing really happened is more of circumcision. So maybe when the wife saw circumcision, she's like, this thing is looking different, it's been circumcised. And normally when the Israelites buy slaves, office slavery is different then than now. To be fair, employment now is worse than slavery. Because for most countries, most cultures, in human history, you're paying 40% of your earning to somebody else. To them, that's already past slavery, of which Eliezer was supposed to be Abraham's slave and he would have inherited Abraham.
Hmm.
And there's none of us that is going to inherit our company.
No.
So anyway, that's just to mention slavery there. But perhaps the real story goes that maybe there's this guy that was brought in, right, and was circumcised because he was a slave bought, and then the wife's like, okay, his body is looking different, his circumcision, and that's maybe why the woman find that kind of attractive. You see.
Yeah.
But you see how the thing mixes together.
And that's why he'll do
Simeon,
it to himself.
yeah,
Saying
you see.
that, yeah.
So look at this. And it came to pass on the third day, exactly the same third day. Right? This is literally from Genesis 34:25. Right? When they saw that the two brothers, Simeon and Levi, the reason why we didn't pick Levi is two. Number one, S for Shango, S for Simeon. You see. And secondly, when you read the book of Joshua for more details, Simeon was the one really leading this expedition. You see. So Dinah's brethren took each man his sword and they came on the city and they slew the males. The same thing.
Wow, the same story.
Exactly the same story, you see. So I think and there's a lot more things to discuss and all that, but then just to let people know some of these things.
Why don't you just at least give us just quickly, maybe just 2 or 3 things?
Okay. Okay, out of what?
You said there's a lot more to discuss.
Because there are some things, and people wonder, why is he hiding something?
Yes, even me, I'm wondering.
But there are some things that you keep, you see, and you don't necessarily hide them. You just keep them because they're more like sacred and things like that. And there's some things that literally should be spoken to the people in authority, because as we've said this now, because this thing is going to go
like the staff thing and all of that.
Yeah, so their eyes are going to be on stuff like that. So there are some things you just cannot keep, but then it's that's just what's going on. That's what it is really.
So you've managed to explain to us now that it could be that Oduduwa is the same as Abraham. But just from everything you've said, because you've touched a lot of different topics, do you have any message just for Christians out there, specifically African Christians?
Yes, very important. And like we said, from next year, the way we feel God's Spirit is leading us in our ministry, we'll begin to touch on matters of doctrines, okay? And but again, we feel that need to stay on matters of identity more. And why? Because we feel there's a lot of doctrinal matters and issues that will die a natural death when people understand who they are.
Can you give us an example of what?
Yes, because who we are is more important than what we do. You see, when you understand that you're an Israelite, there are some things they don't do in your culture. Your mother will tell you. But you know what today's Christian will do? They'll tell you, no, that is the law. You see? So what most Christians see as the height, the apogee of what it means to be a Christian is simply American culture.
But that statement you've made, you said that who we are is more important than what we do. I would have thought it was different, that what we do, like following God's word, obeying Him, is more important than who you are.
It's more important than what we say. Well, more than who we are. It's a balance of the two, but it then depends on the context. Because my own context is like people maybe try to do things, right? They try to. Also confession. Like I tell people that there is no there are people that will self-identify as cats, for example, especially in this modern day.
Let's not even go there.
So I tell people that when you are supposed to be a Christian, you're supposed to be a child of God, and you're living like the devil, your relationships are bad, you are just all over the place, and you say, well, I'm the righteousness of God in Christ Jesus, so it doesn't matter. You get what I'm saying? So I'm telling them that you are as bad as a human being who's self-identifying as a cat.
Yeah, to be honest.
Because come on, you're a human being. Or else me saying I'm a woman or stuff like that, because it's just confusion. So that's what I mean, that when people know who they are, that, hey, come, these things were written by your ancestors, right? When they understand who they are, that these people, you are the Hebrews, and unfortunately, it is Africans that tend to wear this religion like a thing. You understand? In the UK now, they're eliminating churches, turning them into communities, right? And they're now having coffees, in those church England and all that.
I even saw something saying only 6.7% of white people go to church in the UK. That most of the people that go to church in the UK are actually Africans.
Yeah, and old America, old Europeans, you see. So, but then Africans take the religion thing. Why? Because it's actually their story. So they have a connection to it, you see. So they take it, but if they understand who they are, they will understand that many of the things that their parents tell them, okay, young man, why don't you do this? Young lady, why don't you do that? They're literally getting some of those things from what you find in a so-called Old Testament. You see, so our people should embrace that and understand how their culture links with this Christian thing they're trying to embrace, and understand that the apogee of being a Christian or following God is not being like an American. You see, yeah.
So you don't want to just drop one of those doctrine. Just give us one or two, please.
Okay. So, well, let me rather show you something.
Okay.
Maybe a little more interesting. Okay. So, because doctrinal matters are very, very controversial. Like I said, I don't know if I've said it on this channel before, that it seems as though doctrines is almost synonymous to Christians, right? And doctrine is the area that most people know. Almost everybody has something to say.
Yes.
You see, and they can interpret scriptures just one way, the other one says another thing.
They can twist it to fit the doctrine.
Yeah, but when we talk about matters like this that they have no knowledge about, they're more quiet and they listen.
They want to.
So, but let me show you something with regards to end time. Well, just a brief one. Because it ties into the importance of what we're discussing and how this ties into what is going to happen in the future. Because the African people, is about time for them to rise if they identify this in their timing. There's something called, because what we're waiting for is not the rapture, as it were.
Yeah.
Okay, and which is a big doctrine, by the way. Is because that ties in with timeline. Is why we easily brought it up before going into doctrines proper. So there is what we're apparently expecting is more like the Gog and Magog war.
Yes.
Okay,
You mentioned
like we
that.
said, yeah. So this is more like a season where Satan is deceiving the world and all
The
that
short period.
Short season. So there is this letter, Albert Pike's letter. We'll just wrap up with this one.
Who's Albert Pike?
Albert Pike is a 33rd degree Freemason. He's an evil man. So, of course, they have this letter where he wrote to this other guy what they're planning for the world. Now, of course, mainstream, whenever you release a video and YouTube, TikTok, whatever, puts a ribbon on there to try to guide you as if you're a little boy, not to be confused, little child, just know that that's where the truth is. Matters like shape of the earth, moon landing, illuminating, it's not real, all those kind of things.
Yes, I've noticed that.
So this is one of such. If you mention Freemasonry, they'll just pop something there. That's where they do this stuff. So anyway, so we wrote this letter, and mainstream will tell you that this letter is a hoax, that it doesn't exist. It used to sit in the British Library, right? British Museum or Library, one of those. But they've taken it out. And they said, well, we don't know that that kind of stuff exists. But the question is, how does it then predict the future so accurately? So just to paraphrase it, it tells their plan to cause 3 world wars, right?
Oh.
Yeah. Does it sound familiar?
Yeah, we're always going on about the Third World War coming.
So it's a plan. Look at this. Albert Pike's letter. Okay.
1871.
Yes, 1871.
Plan for the 3 world wars.
Yes, exactly. So he wrote this letter to Mazzini, okay, dated 1871, August 15. So they mentioned how the First World War would take place. It took place exactly how it would, they said, which is 1914, of which is about 30 years before they wrote this. They described the Second World War. It was just spot on. So what mainstream would tell you is that, well, the people that wrote this actually lived around after the Second World War, and they just wrote it there as a fake. You see? So that is something that has happened. They are trying to make conspiracy theory, you see. So,
but if
the
it's
question
fake, it
is,
wouldn't happen in a museum.
And another thing is that how come it then describes the Third World War, which is yet to happen?
So what does it say?
Now, we're going to get to that. Of which this is the same thing mainstream does by saying the book of Daniel, because the book of Daniel describes how there will be Babylon, Persia, Greeks, and then the Romans accurately. They said, well, it was the Maccabees that wrote it, that they have seen all those things before they wrote it, and it's a lie. But look at the Third World War that it describes. I don't know if to paraphrase or just read it.
Maybe we should read it quickly.
Let's read it, okay. So the Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of differences between agentur of the Illuminati, between the political Zionists and leaders of the Islamic world. I will interpret it, don't worry. I know it's all over the place. So the war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim world, and the political Zionism, that's the is not real people, state of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Now, let me paraphrase them, we'll read into it. There's more like 5 religions as far as these people are concerned, and they have infiltrated just about those 4 religions.
Yeah.
One is the Zionism, the is not real, the Satan Yahoo people. And the second is Islam, of course, which is more or less was created by this third one, which is Roman Catholicism. So the third is Christianity. The fourth one is like atheism.
Yes.
Right? The fifth one, they're still trying to hide it, which is Satanism. You see. So their plan is in 33rd degree Freemasonry. I know that sounds weird. But what they do is that when you're first degree, second degree, third degree, from what we have read, they don't reveal everything to the people at the start. But what they tell the highest heights of them is that the real God is Satan. And that Satan is the God. They sweep the thing upside down, swap it upside down.
Confusion.
Yes, and they say Lucifer is their God, their light and all that. So their plan is to use Israel, Middle East, and the Arab world to exterminate each other. So those two religions are gone. And then they are going to introduce, of which, by the way, Christians will be very confused, because Christians are just more or less the most confused religion in the world. They'll be more or less confused, right? That why is the Middle East doing this? Why is Israel doing that? And all of that. And then the atheists are like, well, we told you those guys are just political. But they will then release a guy.
Satan.
Which, if the Christians are expecting some kind of rapture and Jesus to return, this is probably who they're expecting, not knowing. But it's going to become clear. It's not that difficult to figure out. But this guy will be supernatural enough, two characteristics. To be supernatural, he will be supernatural enough for atheists to believe him that, man, this guy is supernatural.
And for Christians.
And it will be Jesus-like enough, based on what they think Jesus is, for so-called Christians to believe that person. You see? So that's where everybody leaves this and they go to this. So that's what it's trying to say. But let's read on.
Wow.
Yeah, so meanwhile, other nations more divided on this issue, like everybody. Oh, by the way, this mutually destroying each other. You know that Iran and Israel, they literally blew up each other, more or less, because Israel did, of course, Hamas, and Israel sent bombs to Iran, and then Iran also blew up Tel Aviv. Israel is in shambles right now. The same thing with Iran.
This is basically happening right now.
Already happening, you see. And that's what you ask people that call this letter a hoax, by the way. So meanwhile, other nations, once they are more divided on this issue, they will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economic exhaustion. People will be tired. They are hoping that that's why they also will push this Christian-Muslim thing in the north. They will just try to... They just want wars, right?
Yeah, they want us to keep fighting each other.
By the way, remember that deception in that point 4 that we show in that timeline, the next thing is the war. So they're trying to bring war by deception, you see. So they'll fight to just exhaustion. By the way, these guys are making money while they're fighting, because there's the military-industrial complex.
Of course.
Yeah. So then they said we, which is them, this Illuminati people, they will unleash the nihilist, okay, and the atheist, right, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly that the nations, show to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, okay, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minorities of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization. And a multitude of disillusioned Christianity is already abusing the Christians. Yeah. So who deistic spirits, right, will from that moment be without compass. They will be confused or direction, right?
Anxious
for an ideal. They'll be like, okay, where do we go now? Everywhere is just messed up.
But without knowing
where to render their adoration, we'll receive, according to them, the true light. You check what the true light is now. The true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer. That's their own true light. You see, brought finally out in the public view. That's what they're doing with these Olympics games. They will show this mockery of Jesus in the, what's the name of that games where they show the bull and people are bowing down to a bull, you know. And these musicians, these Illuminati people, they're getting more bold nowadays, right? They're showing you, one said, let's get ready to worship. You remember some of those, you know, those comments.
Song.
Yeah, so, and I don't know if you saw, even it's at the Large Hadron Collider, right? They do this satanic kind of ritual, you know, to open up the place. In the Olympics, there's these games I'm trying to remember. But there's these games that had a bull to it. Have you seen that? You've not.
I've seen the bull image, but I don't know.
Long ago, the Commonwealth Games had their opening ceremony in Birmingham, England, and to everybody's shock, they brought out a gigantic bull creature as like the centerpiece of this ceremony. Is this some sort of satanic symbol or some sort of ritual?
So like I said, so finally brought finally out in the public view, you see. So the final part, this manifestation will result in a general reactionary movement which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism. So you see, now they've done with the 4 religions.
Yes.
But both conquered and exterminated at the same time. So that's the plan they've got.
To get rid of Christianity, to get rid of atheism.
So, but while all this is going on, of course, when Satan is working, God is also working. In fact, Satan is actually copying what God is doing as much as possible. So as much as they are destroying religions and all of that, what we see happening in Africa, hopefully, is that it would seem like a unification, but I describe it more like it's a deconstruction going on. So that an African Yoruba person, Igbo person, Swahili person, right, a Kikuyu person begin to say that, hey, this Christian thing is actually our story. So it is ours all the while. And the Muslim will be like, hey, what are we talking about? The Torah and whatever even Muhammad wrote there is still the Torah at the end of the day, because genealogy is still the same thing. So if we are the people, then we don't need a religion in that sense. We just live the life of God that God has given us. So I perceive that while the rest of the world is just burning down, that Africa will have enough time to focus on themselves and begin to deconstruct everything that's been built on scripture to form religion and all of those things, and those things will come back. Christians that don't have discernment will be like, hey, what are they trying to do? Is it what this Antichrist will do to unify religions? No, that's not it. What we're doing is deconstructing all the extra things that have been built on top of just African history. And they will see that, hey, in Nigeria, they will tell you there's 3 main religions, isn't it? That's Christian, Muslim, and
traditional.
Yeah. And we're saying that these 3 are literally saying the same thing. This is not a popular thing to say as a Christian. You'll be like, no, this is different. This is what you understand. But all of that is what they've built on the history. It's just history.
But this deconstructing, it's still important as a Christian to believe that Jesus is God.
Yes.
Is it not?
In fact, you are forcing me to tell you too much. Let me tell you just one
last one before we round up. One last one.
There is a woman whose name is Moremi, right? Who is one of the daughters of Abraimo, who is supposed to be Israel. And the name of her son is Ella. And that son died and then rose again and is to be coming back. It's there in Yoruba history. And check, Moremi, Miriam, or Mary. You see that? It's there. The stories are there. So maybe then part 4 will do it.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much for your time. And I'll just end on this quote, which is that God will give you enough evidence to uncover the truth.
Yes. Amen.
Any last words? Or?
Yeah. So it's that Africans should start believing in their God. They should be careful of the Europeans, you see. Now, your regular everyday European you meet at a grocery store, at your workplace, is not who we're talking about. It's about the systems, you see. Because just like a regular African is clueless, a regular European is also clueless, really, of what is really going on. But especially what I'm referring to is at the political level, you see. When, and this is going to the leaders already, and those we can meet in private will also tell them that when America is coming to tell you they're coming to save you, it is never true. Look at Gaddafi, look at Lumumba, look at the Ghanaian man, right? Kwame Nkrumah. They have never, whenever peacekeeping forces from America go somewhere, just know that peace is never going to be there anymore, you see. So they need to be careful. I still saw this talk they're having a southwestern Nigeria thing. They still seem like they're very far away from, there's a long way to go, really. They're still quoting that they're getting funds from USAID. I'm like, are these men reading the news? So Christians, Nigerians, they need to come together. Is hypocrisy to say there's your brother somewhere in Middle East somewhere and your Igbo person beside you is your enemy. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You see. So the unity is important, and people need to begin to be sincere to get rid of the hypocrisy.
Thank you very much, Minister Kunle. It was great to have you here again. Whether you agree or disagree with Minister Kunle's interpretation, it's always important to examine scripture for yourself and let the Holy Spirit guide you into truth. If you'd like to listen to Mr. Kunle's previous interviews with us or learn more about the new movie Abraimo, you can find it all in the links below. Until next time, stay rooted in the Word, anchored in faith, and committed to walking in truth and love. This is Ugona, and thank you for watching the 91 podcast. God bless you.